Hey Ma, do you know what bursts my bubble?
What bursts your bubble?
How what you want when you're 20 years old, you don't want when you're 36 years old, or for you, you don't want when you're
In your 60s.
in your 60s, yes.
That's very true. Sometimes people will say you wish you knew now, or you knew then what you know now. As you've grown through life, you get more experience, life experiences. You get to see the things that are important and the things that really aren't so important.
Right, I remember in my early 20s, I really wanted to be a rich and famous comedian, and I guess I still do, but my perception has changed a lot, though, too, where I'm not really as impressed by celebrities as much, and also women. Women I was interested in my early 20s, for example. I might not be as interested in my 30s because I've learned, the ways of the world, and I've matured.
And what things are important in a woman.
Right, exactly. So I think that's another fair point, obviously, right?
Yeah, I think that
sometimes you tend to devalue yourself, especially when you don't have a lot of intimacy experiences, and you tend to think of yourself in a self-conscious kind of way, and you learn to get to the point where, like, look, I'm as good as any of these, pop stars. I'm as good as any of these comedians. I should be dating a model. You know what I mean? And
you want somebody that has morals and character. Mm-hmm. That's more important than just the physical.
Absolutely. I mean, is it? Does everybody want to date a really sexy woman who's attractive? I think so. But also, it's important to that you have a spark and an emotional connection, an intellectual connection, and they're like your best friend too. Because realistically, once the attraction and the hot and heaviness of the attraction fades, I think ultimately you need somebody that you're intellectually and you get along with, who
cares, who has a depth of soul.
Obviously you try to take care of your appearance, try to work out, and
right. You don't be a sloppy slob.
Yeah, right. But ultimately, it's better to have an intellectual connection than find somebody who's just like a perfect model, like who's legally blonde. You know what I mean?
Let me give you an example. A friend that I knew when I worked with, or was at work. He back in the day owned a big company. I'm not going to go into.
Don't even go into this one. I don't want to get into. I'm not.
But what you're saying is true. The person that he was with was gorgeous and wanted him, and he was a millionaire.
Right.
And the company went under, and she left because she was only in it for the money.
Some people only use you for your material possessions. Some people only use you for your money and what you have to offer. And that's fair. Like, people in society want, a guy who could provide for them. But
isn't that kind of sad in a way? Because I did know people that had a lot of money, and they were always so unsettled and paranoid about, did anybody really like them for just them? They always had to feel that way.
Ultimately, though, if you're presenting yourself as if you're a loser, people aren't going to really. You got to make yourself presentable. It's kind of like a job interview, a romantic partner in a way. Obviously, I believe you could find love. I believe you could find people who genuinely love you, regardless if you're at rock bottom or regardless if you're the king of the castle. But
if you're a hard worker. If you're a hard worker and you're not a lazy slug that lays on the couch and eats cheese doodles, well then, I think people can relate to that, and as long as you work together. But if it's somebody's not equal in the partnership, then that makes problems.
Yeah, obviously class differences can cause problems. Yes. Somebody being of the upper class, somebody being of the lower class. And that is what it is.